Let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're going to look at how you can take those vague, rambling answers about green computing and turn them into precise, architect-level strategies. Whether you're prepping for a massive end-of-semester exam or you're a professional trying to pitch a sustainability overhaul to your company's board, knowing how to structure your approach is absolutely everything. We are going to build a concrete blueprint together.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, the vague answer trap. Second, the LCA measurement tool. Third, the universal three-tier strategy. And finally, your green IT blueprint. Let's get right to it. Section 1, the vague answer trap. So, how do you implement green computing in a modern enterprise? When you're hit with a massive open-ended question like this, it's pretty normal for panic to set in. It's such a broad topic that without a solid system, your brain just kind of scrambles for anything that sounds remotely eco-friendly. And because of that panic, you end up writing pages of rambling paragraphs about turning off office lights or saving printer paper. Not only does this completely bore whoever's listening or reading, but it also scores terribly. You're looking at maybe a sad 5 out of 15 marks. Well, we're stopping that today. We're replacing those weak answers with actual, concrete engineering frameworks. Moving on to Section 2, the LCA measurement tool. Now, this is a really important distinction to make right up front. Do not confuse the physical IT product lifecycle with a lifecycle assessment. The product lifecycle is literally just the physical journey of a laptop, from its design and manufacturing to you using it and eventually throwing it away. LCA is completely different. It's the actual analytical, mathematical methodology we use to measure the environmental damage that happens during that physical journey. And if you want a great anchor point to remember, it's this number right here, 1440. LCA is governed by the ISO 1440 standard. Dropping this specific number is a fantastic way to ground your strategy in real-world standards. It proves you aren't just making things up on the fly. The absolute crucial thing here is that measuring this impact requires strictly following a 4-stage iterative process. If you're ever asked about the stages of LCA, you need to hit these exact 4 steps. Let's break down what happens in each one. Stage 1 is the goal and scope definition. Before you even think about measuring a single thing, you have to draw your boundaries. What exactly are we evaluating here? Are you calculating the carbon footprint of just one single smartphone? Or are you measuring the entire global supply chain of the manufacturer? You have to define the functional unit and your exact system boundary right up front, so your math actually makes sense later. That brings us to Stage 2, the lifecycle inventory, or LCI. This is your raw data collection phase. Think of it exactly like an accounting ledger, but for the environment. You measure every single raw input going into the system. We're talking electricity, gallons of water, raw silicon, copper, and then you measure every single output, like tons of CO2 emissions, toxic waste, and heat generated across the product's whole life. And that leads brilliantly into Stage 3, the Life Cycle Impact Assessment, or LCIA. Because look, a spreadsheet that just says you used 10,000 gallons of water and produced 5 tons of CO2, that means absolutely nothing to a CEO. In this stage, we take that raw LCI data and convert it to environmental impacts we can actually understand. We translate CO2 into global warming potential. We translate sulfur into acidification potential. We are quite literally translating raw data into environmental damage. Finally, we hit Stage 4, interpretation. This is where you write up the final report. You evaluate all the findings from the previous steps, you check if they actually meet the goals you set way back in Stage 1, and you make concrete engineering recommendations. And keep in mind, LCA is an iterative process. If your interpretation reveals that your initial scope was way off, you just loop right back to the beginning and reevaluate. All right, Section 3, the universal 3-tier strategy. This next tool is an absolute game changer for implementation. It's a plug-and-play block diagram called the Holistic Green IT Strategy Framework. When someone asks how an enterprise can reduce its footprint, you pull this out. It instantly organizes your strategy and proves that you really understand complex systems. By deploying this 3-tier matrix, your strategy essentially writes itself. Instead of just throwing out a messy list of ideas, you are showcasing exactly how hardware, software, and infrastructure all interconnect to drive sustainability and cut costs. It's the perfect roadmap. Let's look at how you'd explain each specific tier. When you're explaining Tier 1, your focus is entirely on physical end devices. You can highlight highly actionable steps, like replacing old power-hungry hard disk drives with super-efficient solid-state drives.
You can talk about swapping out those massive energy-draining desktop towers for low-power thin clients for the staff. And you absolutely want to name-drop DVFS, dynamic voltage and frequency scaling, which dynamically adjusts CPU power based on the actual workload.
For Tier 2, we move up the stack and focus on software and virtualization. This is where you explain how using hypervisors lets you consolidate, say, 10 physical, power-draining servers into just one massive virtualized server. That directly eliminates a ton of idle power waste. You can also bring up energy-aware algorithms that smartly route network tasks and automatically put unused ports to sleep.
Then in Tier 3, you zoom all the way out to the macro level. We're talking the data center and corporate policy. Here, you discuss optimizing data center airflow with techniques like hot aisle containment, which makes sure your massive cooling systems aren't wasting power fighting against themselves. You can also weave in big-picture concepts like smart grid integration and enforcing really strict corporate e-waste management policies. Framing your ideas across these three pillars makes you look like a true systems architect.
Finally, Section 4, your Green IT Blueprint.
So, let's summarize all of this. You are now fully equipped with two incredibly robust frameworks. You've got the lifecycle assessment as your strict measurement tool, guiding you through goal definition, inventory data collection, impact translation, and final interpretation. And you have the three-tier framework as your implementation tool, perfectly categorizing your actions across hardware, software, and infrastructure. Putting these together seamlessly moves you from abstract theory to actual physical architecture.
So the next time you tackle sustainability in IT, whether you're staring down a blank exam booklet or standing in front of a corporate board, I want you to ask yourself something. Are you just turning off the lights and hoping for the best? Or are you architecting a truly green, interconnected system? Use these blueprints and go build something genuinely sustainable.